Efficient C/CD implementation. How to integrate Jenkins with Docker Compose on AWS. This podcast is brought to you by Business Compass, LLC. We are an Amazon Web Services advanced consulting partner. We build and migrate workloads to Amazon Cloud. Our website is businesscompassllc.com. Our phone number is 973-638-2228. Our email address is contact@businesscompassllc.us. Introduction. Implementing a C/CD workflow. In today's fast-paced development environment, continuous integration and continuous deployment, C/CD, are essential for delivering software rapidly and reliably. C/CD pipelines help teams deliver high-quality code faster by automating the build, test, and deployment processes. Combined with Docker Compose on AWS, Jenkins provides a powerful solution for streamlining these processes. This podcast will walk you through setting up a C/CD pipeline using Jenkins and Docker Compose on AWS. Prerequisites: setting up your AWS environment. Before diving into the C/CD setup, you need a few prerequisites in place. AWS account. If you don't have an AWS account, create one. EC2 instance. Launch an EC2 instance, preferably using a Linux AMI, where Jenkins and Docker will be installed. Ensure it has sufficient resources to handle your builds and deployments. Security groups. Create or modify a security group to allow SSH, port 22, HTTP, port 80, and Jenkins, port 8080 access. Ensure you have an IAM role with the necessary permissions to manage EC2, S3, and other AWS services in your pipeline. Code repository. Initializing and cloning your project. Your C/CD pipeline starts with your code repository. Whether you're using GitHub, GitLab, or Bitbucket, the first step is to initialize your repository and clone it to your local environment. Initialize the repository. Git init. Git add. Git commit m initial commit. Clone the repository to your local machine. Git clone repository _URL greater than. This repository will be the source for Jenkins to pull code changes and trigger the pipeline. Building your Docker image. Containerizing your application. With your code in place, the next step is to containerize your application using Docker. Docker allows you to package your application and its dependencies, ensuring consistency across environments. Create a Docker file in your project root. From Node:14. Workter/app. Copy, run npm install. cmd, npm, start. Build the Docker image. Docker build your image name. This image encapsulates your application and can be deployed on any Docker-supported environment. Pushing to Docker Hub, centralizing your image repository. Centralizing your Docker images in a repository like Docker Hub makes it easier to deploy across different environments. Log in to Docker Hub. Docker login. Tag your image. Docker tag your image name, your Docker Hub username / your image name tag. Push the image to Docker Hub. Docker push your Docker Hub username / your image name tag. Now, your Docker image is stored in a central location and can be pulled for deployment on any server. Deployment on EC2, launching your containerized application. With the Docker image pushed to Docker Hub, you can deploy it on your EC2 instance. SSH into your EC2 instance. SSHI your key.pem ec2 user at your ec2 public IP. Pull the Docker image. Docker pull your Docker Hub username / your image name tag. Run the Docker container. Docker run dp80 to 3000 your Docker Hub username / your image name tag. Your application should now be live and accessible through the EC2 instance's public IP. Securing Jenkins access, configuring AWS security groups. To secure your Jenkins instance, you must adequately configure AWS security groups. Update your EC2 security group. Allow inbound traffic on port 8080 for Jenkins access. Restrict access to known IP addresses to prevent unauthorized access. Enable HTTPS. Configure Jenkins to use HTTPS by adding an SSL certificate or using a reverse proxy like Nginx. Securing Jenkins is crucial to protect your C/CD pipeline from unauthorized access. Jenkins Declarative Pipeline. Automating your workflow with scripts. Jenkins provides a powerful way to define your C/CD workflow using declarative pipelines. Create a Jenkins file in your repository. Pipeline. Agent any. Stages. Stage build. Steps. Script. Docker.build your image name stage test. Steps. / add test steps here. Stage deploy. Steps. Shagent, your SSH credentials I did. Docker pull your Docker Hub username / your image name tag. Docker run dp80 to 3000 your Docker Hub username / your image name tag. This pipeline script automates the build, test, and deployment processes, making your workflow more efficient. Troubleshooting deployment errors, leveraging Docker Compose. Docker Compose is a powerful tool that simplifies the management of multi-container Docker applications, especially when dealing with complex deployments. Create a Docker Compose.yml file. Version 3. Services, web. Image, your Docker Hub username / your image name tag. Ports 80 to 3000. Deploy using Docker Compose. Docker Compose upd. Docker Compose's logs and configuration options can help identify and resolve issues if you encounter deployment errors. Understanding Docker Compose, simplifying multi-container applications. Docker Compose isn't just for single applications, it's ideal for orchestrating multi-container setups like microservices. Service definition. Define multiple services, for example, web, database, in a single Docker Compose.yml file. Networking. Docker Compose automatically handles networking between containers. Scaling. Easily scale services up or down using the Docker Compose upscale command. Understanding Docker Compose allows you to manage complex containerized applications with ease. Conclusion. Implementing a C/CD pipeline with Jenkins and Docker Compose on AWS streamlines your development workflow and ensures consistency and reliability in deployments. Following this podcast, you can efficiently set up, secure, and manage your C/CD pipeline, enabling rapid and reliable software delivery. Thank you for listening to our podcast. Please share this podcast, visit our website, and follow our social media links.